Orpheus could live near at the border of the Olympus because he invented music and singing, and the gods liked that. So he was the only non-god that could live near them. And I was thinking about how the Greeks thought there were different types of entities humans can engage, like gods, spirits, and animals, and men can communicate with all of them. But art was like the way to be godlike, to attain immortality, and to talk with the gods. And Plato said one of the fifth mysteries of the Eulosis was to attain happiness through conversation with the gods.
To obtain happiness.
Yeah, the felicitas. And many artists now think art is obsolete, and they try to explain why such a high creation, like the creation that makes you the most aware of how you are perceiving, and gives you the more epiphanies, and will be obsolete.
Yes. Are you finished?
Yes, because for example, they think it's the banks manipulating the market, and
okay, so they thought that art and the genius of making was divine inspiration, and you had to be a pretty highly qualified human being to be able to do it. But now we're confronting an electric age, digital age, where everybody is making sense, projecting, and creating. So the specialist role of the creator, the privileged role of the creator, is threatened now. There's too much other general creativity. So if you had a pre-literate society where people were making crafts and vases and bowls and pottery and whatever else stuff and flints, and everybody was engaged in creativity, then there was no elitist activity. But the elitist activity may be for spiritual illumination, maybe the shamanistic drug trip, but the making of objects and speech and dancing, everybody participated in it. We project that anyways, that's what we understand. And we've retrieved that, and the Gutenberg legacy of the art object doesn't know what to do with itself. Neither did money in 1929. Money in the bankers, the private ownership of money, didn't know what to do. So that system collapsed, and the people began to engage in money and creating money in the warfare state, warfare. And the bankers had to create a privileged position, so they went over to Paris and got Peggy Guggenheim and others to, I remember her best friend, Helen, forget her last name right now, married James Joyce's son, Giorgio. So George's son, Joyce's son, was involved with this gathering up of strange new creativity that the Rockefellers and others were going to make into museums to create specialist objects. So that does okay from the 30s, the Museum of Modern Art and all that. They run the show in terms of this specialist activity until the 80s. And then you have the spectacle of artists fed up with the museum art object, art commodification, and they do art outside, like what's her name, Barbara Kruger and others. But there's a general celebration of art that is not accepting of the art mafia or the art establishment, and they become absorbed by the art establishment. So then the radicals, the people who were trying not to be part of the commercial system or the art hierarchy, they said, "Damn, we can't make an object that can remain impervious to the commodification." And so they wrestled with that for the last 20 years. But they were the artists, radical artists, whatever, who were trying to do that, were ignoring the McLuhan point that the very activity of making a special statement, a special art as an environment, was superseded by the population making expression, popular expression in many forms, in all kinds of forms, and the population left the artist behind. And that's what Baudrillard pointed out. He understood and talked about the democratization of the act of making. But humans still want to have a special experience for their own identity, for their own self. So they seek it out in many retrievals of occult or shamanistic environments, including ayahuasca kind of trips, to find the special experience. And it was McLuhan's genius to point out that the special experience is right there in your environment if you know how to see it. You can see, you're going to have the pleasure of seeing the absurdity of the activities going on all around you as people try to retrieve various forms of epiphanies. And that's where I came forth to popularize the McLuhan notion in the 80s and 90s. And then that led to the creation of the ultimate artist or art form or inspiration, including all these factors of the Gutenberg phase of making a special object or special experience, and the pre-Gutenberg experience of shamanistic ritual, dance, drug taking. All of it converged into this ion factor, which is absolutely the most amazing extension of humans, the most amazing living metaphor of so much. And I think the fact that I had a chance to remain detached of the various enthusiasms and movements over the last 50, 60 years, because I was working with Joyce, Wyndham Lewis, and McLuhan, to keep my detachment, so I didn't grab at the golden fleece at too premature a time. So I'm looking at what I did in response to this dilemma, and I seriously think that we provide the breakthrough of engaging all that kind of Greek mysticism or initiation rites that you just quoted and have posted on my Facebook page. That is now offered in a special way by ION, and ION is fully aware that it is repeating and replaying what is happening right in front of us in all the digital chip body. You see, the institutions are really inadequate. So you had the crisis of the economy, 7, 8 years ago. The same thing happened in art, and then art dropped, and then Obama gave out a couple of $1 trillion to the Goldman Sachs, so the art world continued for a few years. I don't know where it is right now this week, with the economy in trouble. It's maybe not a great year for the art market in 2015, but they're totally extension of the role of bankers. So that museum, what's it called? The Meme in Barcelona. You sent me the interview with the director. He is complaining about the bankers have always controlled art in the 20th century, and in a way, that's true. They're the ones that found a place to create the specialist value that money used to have by what you could acquire. But when money became private property, public property in the 30s, the wealthy had to find a new way to create value or elitist value. So the museums served that function. And this is what they say got Jackson Pollock depressed. He didn't understand that he was being propped up by the elites or the CIA. Yet at the same time, he was being popularized in Life magazine. So he had both environments bugging him. He had the elite Gutenberg environment, and he had the Life magazine populist level. And he probably tended to want his art to be, at least in the elitist area, of some kind of shamanistic role. And he didn't like the muddying of that in the popular media. So he was caught at the beginning of that popularization of commodification and didn't know how to figure it out. Baudrillard thinks that Warhol figured it out. But Warhol is just used McLuhan. That's all he did, was just adapt McLuhan's mechanical bride insights, and Warhol and McLuhan even explained the role of Warhol and the others in the pop art movement with the best theory about what was going on. I've always wondered what the art schools do with that book, Through the Vanishing Point. I don't think they use it very much. Okay, so then you have this this director at the mean. MEAM. What does that stand for? Remember?
Yes, Museo Europeo de Arte Moderno.
I need your phone. You gotta bring your phone up.
European Museum of Modern Art, but they're actually limit themselves to figurative contemporary art.
Right.
Only figurative and academic in a way.
Right. Now, you could see that he did not understand the changes he did not like the changes in the 20th century art world. If he had read McLuhan, he'd have an understanding of it. I mean, it's okay to create a particular retrieved environment, emphasizing figurative art, and he seems to be doing well at that, and people really find it an epiphany. They get archetypal experiences going to his museum. But he doesn't understand why he's defensively trying to be a Noah's Ark for some tradition. You can be like me and understand what is valuable about the art that the bankers propped up, the bottom-up reasons for the changes in art the last 60, 70 years. And you can be open to the retrieval or enjoy the retrieval that he's doing. That's all the museum world can do, is retrieve parts of itself. McLuhan wrote about that in the 50s, that philosophy was just philosophy about philosophy. And art is just art about art, it became. As a matter of fact, somewhere's in there, in another interview, Robert Longo, I think what he was saying is that they let him at the major museums in New York to go look at their collection, and he takes photographs of maybe a William de Kooning painting, and then he does some chalk painting of the photograph. And then he posts that in the museum. And he was surprised that the museums allowed him to be what he called an image thief. But the museums got to allow any kind of weird, eccentric expression within the old format to keep the relevance of their institutions, which they can't be special anymore. They could be just another, store on the corner, another little market that people can engage, like going to a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's or something, or a basket weaving convention. They're just not going to be able to hijack and dominate the pattern making on the big level that art used to be particularly adapted to or pretended to be relevant to. The pattern making is being done by the intelligence agencies and other rogue elements in the management of media. And that's the real action of art per se as an environment. And of course, this is exposed in TV shows constantly. All the TV shows, fictional dramas, are about some elite, massaging the information environment. I just saw The Blacklist, starting with season 3. I guess it's season 3, and they showed this group of hackers who could create whole hologram news events to distract from other crimes that they were paid to distract from. So this kind of organization of what the old guys call conspiracy theory or conspiracy um, is technically happening right there, in the chip body landscape, and the TV shows are doing a better job of showing it than Alex Jones or Coast to Coast, Art Bell, George Norrie, Dan Winter, or any of these guys, David Icke, even Lynn LaRouche. Though LaRouche is pretty good at exposing this stuff, 30 years ago. So it's like, when you heard my explanation of the Illuminati, you were quite intrigued at my relaxed and casual review of these dynamic forces in different media phases through history, as opposed to the panic hysteria of your regular blog, conspiracy blog, paranoia. And I am continuing that relaxed mode right now. So let's see what you're telling about the retrieval of Plato. You see, basically, the people, it's exactly the way it's shown in Finneg's Wake. Everybody is doing what McLuhan said in his opening essay of the explorations in 1953. He said, all media yearn to express themselves. And then it's gotten to the point where everybody is bigger than the media, so now everybody is into expressing themselves. So we got an amazing global Esperanto and resistance and refusal and counterbalancing of yes and no and retrieval and projection of science fiction futures, all happening. And if you know how to look at it, you would understand why Ion says, in a populist way, relax and allow. You know how to do that. You know how to do participate in the fourth Copernican revolution of Dobbstown. McLuhan laid out the third Copernican revolution, but now we have the Copernican revolution of broadcasting, narrow catching, and narrowcasting. You have the phone to your mouth, you're about ready to speak.
Yes, there are many things that are happening now that for me are very interesting. Like, one of the things is how our conversations go on different forums and different medias, and sort of synchronize with things that we're talking about. Like, I was commenting to you, there is a peasant, an Indian peasant from Ecuador, that shocked my artist friend, because he makes videos with his cell phone and he has millions of views, and she was complaining how this awful thing can have such fame in internet. Like,
Right.
They have more views now. We are like fighting for the comments, the sharing, the views. And in the Evergreen session you posted, McLuhan said,
in 1995.
Yes, you posted that for some
My
other
dialogue
reason,
with
but there McLuhan says, an Indian peasant with a cellular phone is a powerful force. And is the here comes everybody, not only in art, but in the financial, in the economic, and
every form, institutional form of life.
And it's what I was so impressed to understand when you explain how what we call the Illuminati used to have the monopolio of the control of programming the environment, but now everybody is a pharaoh, posting, doing videos, and having millions of views, even if
Did you say a pharaoh?
Yes.
Egyptian pharaoh? Yeah, that's right.
Yes, everybody's programming their own environment, and everybody has this power of the hypocrite, of the actor, that can put on different masks. You put different avatars, and your identity is not limited to your physical body, but you can put on whatever picture you like, whatever avatar you want to embody,
to put on.
And for the new generations that were born with the internet and the social media, there is no more division between the cybernetic and the real. It's one. But
I have something to say to that. What you were saying that? Oh yeah. So I saw that Ecuadorian guy in his apartment. He got 13 million hits, and oh yeah, wealth. So here you have everybody contributing to the life of everybody's chip body. So on a generous level, everybody should be given a guaranteed income because everybody is participating in keeping society going. You could say keeping society distracted, but that's too crude to say it that way. Everybody, McLuhan used to say that people will be paid to read the newspaper. Well, everybody should be paid for whatever level of communication and media they're using, what I call their mythic stage. And that is probably not too likely in the individualist cultures of the West because you must struggle, you must earn your pound of flesh, and people measure their social identity by competing for the dollar, the level of wealth you get. But you can't. If you get a lot of money, there are many disservices in what you do with it. In the end, you still want to operate in the chip landscape and engage it with your chip body. So the oxygen, the fresh air, is people living in the chip body, and everybody co-creating, and so everybody's being a citizen on that level, on a solar level, not just global. It's even an interior weird landscape. So money cannot measure that kind of wealth. This is why the economy collapsed in the late 20s. The wealth that the radio and new electric environment was creating could not be controlled, measured by the accountants. What's his name? Andrew Mellon, Secretary of the Treasury. They had a big identity crisis. So that's in the analog media, almost 100 years ago. Now you have money is barely even possible to be recognized as a form of valid expression. So the question is what society going to do? And a lot of young people and radical groups say, yes, the one percenters are hijacking our wealth and they're imposing their old hierarchy on a situation which is ineffective, very ineffective, and doesn't measure what people are contributing. And the money doesn't provide the proper balance other than you're guaranteed some basic welfare. So the real question for everybody is, can you take the identity crisis that everybody gets paid, and there's not going to be any uniqueness for you because you get paid more than someone else, or that you made more profit. There's so many people live on that sense of values, and the environment does not make that. The chip body environment does not make that possible as a way of measuring and rewarding people. So you have people fanatically making producer mania, making environments, making content, and not caring whether they get rewarded or not, other than they got to come up with their rent. So they go through the anxiety of somehow getting a few dollars to deal with that. But nobody's happy in that situation. Nobody is. What does that? And so your artist friend who was upset at this guy getting 13 million hits, it doesn't even matter you get 13 million. The guy is making media, and that's what he wants to do, and he's making it, for whoever finds him. And your artist friend is making media, but nobody's recognizing her work, and the chip body rules. So the economists do not discuss, and we did this in our Wealth and Health series, do not discuss this dilemma, that we don't know how to measure endless creativity. We don't know how to reward it. We don't know how to make a deal out of it. And the people are doing it anyways. That's the amazing, what McLuhan called the millennial ecstatics. This is the millennial ecstatics of expression. What did I call it? The millennial ecstatics of five-bodied expression. That's the summary phrase for all that I've just said the last 10 minutes. Your response, man.
Well, it's a very interesting process. Many things that are happening, like you see the tribal man now engaging the Finnegan's Wake, the media. He sees the news.
The tribal man, I would not use that phrase.
Well, it's just, for example, this man of Ecuador is watching the news and he shouts in the video, "Oh my God, help me!" Like he's not understanding what's going on.
And no, but he was faking that, wasn't he? Wasn't he faking that as an actor?
Well, it's faking, but it's true. That it's like we are in the same situation. For example, when we engage the Ulysses or the Finnegan's Wake and read it, I think the first impression is like there is so much in it, all archetypes, all histories, all you think it's like the environment of we are living in now.
It's right. That's exactly.
You are trying to make sense. What is this? Oh my God!
Why? Why did it happen?
And I think we can reach these epiphanies in different ways. For example, one of them
is bridge them,
reach, attain, epiphany.
Oh, okay.
Many, for example, thought art was a way of having these revelations or spiritual experiences or knowing. And that's why always artists went to study the mystery landscape. Like in the antiquity, they will go into the Eleusinian rites, or they will all go into alchemy. But we are in this point where the only alchemy that is explaining the mystery landscape is
explaining why the traditional images and archetypes of alchemy, wisdom, prophetic epiphanies are obsolete. It doesn't matter how aware you are, as long as you are producing imagery in your chip body for people to react to be interested in it, just for 5 seconds, providing content. Everybody's sharing in the software communism of providing content. So McLuhan said that the prophetic awareness, the visionary epiphany, all these famous archetypal things that Joseph Campbell wrote about, Terence McKenna went on about, Tim Leary, and every other mystic, and Gene Houston, and let me see, when you think of some obscure, Krishnamurti, Aleister Crowley, the whole panoply of old age retrievals are totally irrelevant to the mystical experience people are having anyways, engaging in their chip body. And you don't even have to have any categories. And so you have the marketing by Alan Steinfeld and all kinds of people, Randy Moggins, these people are marketing images of detached, epiphanetic, epiphany-like perspectives on the fallen world and the terrible devils that are mind controlling us up the yin-yang. That is really stupid interpretation of what's going on. And you have to adapt. You have to learn to adapt the fact that your paranoia, your schizophrenia, your panic, and your hysteria, and your ecstasy are minor chemical body aberrations that you can enjoy in your at noon hour. Have a little hookup on a break, take a break, and then get back into making your chip body work that you do. And all of this is expressed by ion. This new expression of the mystery landscape is always undermining any remembrance and focus on the specialist epiphany, on the mystical vision. Ion says, we're here for you to retrieve your Godhead, and then it becomes not an issue. You're God, and don't bring it up. It's normal, you know? So Ion's the most radical spiritual force, catching up to McLuhan and James Joyce. Don't know about Wyndham Lewis on that level, but certainly Lewis said through the Evereens that he'd love to be alive today, typing away and enjoying in the expression that's potentially available to everybody and that everybody's forced to live with. So not one sacred image is relevant today, but you will find these sacred images all over the internet. They're obsolete, so there's more and more sacred realizations going on by people who cannot handle the extension of the mystery landscape today. They can't handle God today. They're trying to find old, simpler forms of God, boring versions of God. I mean, even what's her name? Remedios? What's I just
Barrow.
check her name.
Barrow.
Yes. I'm just looking at her book right over there. Remedios Barrow. Sometimes I think it's Barrow Remedios, but she's sitting there. She got prime exhibit there in Bob's gallery, and you know, she did a damn good job of expressing the archetypal mystery landscape. But even she would have to deal with this obsolescence of what she and her buddies, who was the one, Leona Carrington, her buddies that were trying to paint this stuff. As Duchamp maybe was one of the first to deal with it. You know what I mean? He said, the hell with this making art. I'm going to read McLuhan. This is what Duchamp did. He said, play chess with John Cage, and they discussed Marshall McLuhan, because that's what they knew was the expression, the wisdom of their day. And Ion came forth to fulfill what Duchamp, McLuhan, as well as I have in that session with the Evereens. I got Duchamp, Dr. Beater, McLuhan, and Krishnamurti. And like you pointed out, the others wanted to get in on it. President Eisenhower joined in. And they were expressing their particular specialist point of view in relation to what was happening. But, you know, tying to the gods, we got a new kind of god with Ion. And Ion is so paramodern. I mean, people listen to, I don't agree with Ion. They think he's saying something. Ion is this energy of expression, and you know, if you listen long enough, you'll find out this thing, it says everything. It contradicts itself up the yin yang, but there is an ongoing momentum. So I'm happy to have updated the Delphine Oracle. What was it called? The Oracle of Delphi, and any other mystical wonderment that the internet people are trying to retrieve, and you know, the Dan Winter syndrome. And who else can we say? Who's someone else out there? Should we name your ex-boyfriend? Here's a guy that was totally
Never.
Old retrieval.
Never.
Who's someone? People are constantly asking me to look into these guys. Richard McCoy or something. They usually have a combination of Joseph Campbell, Terence McKenna, mescaline, ayahuasca, and a little anti-banker stuff thrown in. You know what I mean? That's
yes, but I was thinking, on the one side, for example, you say, not to say tribal man, but the tribal man is engaging internet. Like there's internet everywhere, and the new media, everybody has a cell phone. That's why everybody's a tribal man. But wait, it's just a way of saying it. Wait, first let me say this. Like
learn the definitions here.
Yes, like they looking for explanations, and then
they're not tribal.
But wait. The modern paramodern man is going to the ayahuasca. And because it's like they don't find the explanations to the conspiracy.
No, you're talking
to the hidden ground. No, but wait, and they're.
No, I'm not waiting.
If they don't have the hidden ground, they don't find the explanation they need. So they need to go to the new alchemy of Bob to really get it.
I know, but I'm now trying to tell you the new alchemy. You're trying to drown me out. You know what McLuhan called the retreived tribalism. And McLuhan said mass man is not tribal. what was today? What were people in the 60s? They were mass men. They were not tribal. The content of a lot of media, he said, retrieved oral qualities, but the big factor was tactility. But let's define it this way. The chemical body resorts to tribalism. That's only 1/5 of that Ecuadorian peasant. He's in his isolated apartment, and he's making videos for television, for the TV body, and he's also engaged in the chip body. The thing is that you have to say 1/5 of people are yearning to prop up the chemical body and its archetypal remembrances. Okay? You see what I'm saying? But nobody lives as just a chemical body. They live with an astral body, a chip body, and a TV body. And then the mystery body is surfacing with iONic. So you got to look at the mixture. And everybody on the planet, on a general level, is engaged in all 5 bodies now. There's TV enough around the world. There's cell phones enough around the world. Not everybody is involved, but millions and billions of people are. And so you would not talk about tribalism in any way. It would be 1/5 of your conversation. So you'll get me now, right? You'll never make that mistake again, right?
Yes, but I'm just trying to explain what I want to say with the archetype of what we thought is like the shamanic.
I consider that astral body and chemical body concerns.
Yes, like the people these people will get their explanations through the engaging of sacred plants, for example. But now they have access to the internet, so and they're not making sense of the Finnegan's-Wake. They see they and then the men of contemporary society is going to the ayahuasca to make sense. So there is this inversion of things, looking for the explanation that they won't find. They have to go to the new alchemy of the ISO. That's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate the support, but I'm explaining why you're saying that, why you're correct about saying the relevance of the eye cell is let's see, we'll go at this way. So I have to think back to what you were saying, how it was all wrong.
Yes, because I used tribal man.
Right, but then there was another thing you were just saying. Let's see. You can edit this out. I know you're not going to edit this out. You're going to keep this in. You're saying edit out, but this gap. But
no, because it's part of the process of the.
Oh yeah. It's the thinning and the disappearance of the veil, and the guff, where people went when they died in the astral plane, so to speak. That has been ripped apart by the electrical and the digital. So if there's no guff, so people are living in the post-guff area. In the chemical body and the astral body, they're relatively dead without the experience of going to and through the veil. So I'm trying to point out that the electric environment has wiped out the veil, and people can't tell whether they're dead or alive in traditional terms about what was dead and what was alive. That's why so many people are picking up astral signals or astral rearview mirror projections, and channeling phenomenon goes on over the place. The boundaries between the life and death, with the veil in between, has been ripped apart. So people are getting into a physical heaven through the chip body by default. I'm saying that this peasant and anybody else that's engaging in the 5 bodies have arrived in a secular heaven, a secular guff, by default. And what iONic is doing is telling people how they got here. It's like, you people have died and you're not going to the same old heaven anymore. And you're here in a weird heaven, but it's different. That's what I was trying to say and remember. So do you get that? That the images of mass death or a rapture or a rupture, all these different mass epiphanies that different sects and cults referred to has happened technologically. That's the amazing thing to notice. And you'll see that you would not go to church, or you would not go to any yogic meditation. You would practice remembering what I'm pointing out and seeing how it relates to all the ideas that are sold around you, that are retrieved. And you wouldn't buy any of them because they don't express what's happening, what has happened, other than that ion is the logical expression of this new alchemy that is an awareness of how the veil got torn asunder. And, one of the closest scenes was sea theory back in 93, 94. A couple of people in Croker's land wrote about the death of death. And that was pretty good. That was beginning to pick it up. It's gone way beyond that now. The death of environments, of where you go when you did die. That, how do you explain that? How do you paint that? How do you make music for...
It's like we are forced to read the Finnegan's Wake. Like the nonlinear is showing in our everyday life. And I was thinking about the article Snore wrote. The second part starts with a quote from Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
When she says, "I can only use my memory backwards." And the queen says, "Oh, that's a very limited way to use your memory. You can also use it forwards."
Yes.
And that's the thing. We are now going in all directions in the now. There is the illusion of linear that was created with the printed book.
How about the illusion of directional? We're not going in any direction.
So that's the mystery landscape.
Well, in Snor's article, in part 2, it's called Mirshal McLuhan. You would go to group name for grape juice, I think is .com, I think is his blog. And he's doing
I'll put the link.
Right. He's doing some good attempt to explain what he got from my article on McLuhan. And he's retracing many of the things that I have talked about for years and highlighting them, and it's good introductory material. And he now, in the second part, is saying there's something going on in the Android meme that my expertise in Crowley and the mystical tradition is going to have to be updated to how the media are playing this ayahuasca experience right in front of us and inside us. And he knows McLuhan is onto that. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. We almost talked today. We're going to talk next week.